I am completely spent. I am filthy. My clothes are dirty. I am horrifically jet-lagged. I am back from Japan. Now, this was incredibly unexpected. I'm pretty sure those of you who follow me on Twitter noticed that my feed suddenly went to me posting pictures of stuff in Japan. And what happened here, before we get to the gist of this video, is that normally when I go to Japan, I like to reserve my, my flight, my hotel, figure out what I'm doing months ahead of schedule. And then what happened was about 2.5 weeks ago, I had a buddy of mine who said, I've never been to Japan before. I want to go to Fuji-Q Resort, and I want to go out to Osaka, and I want to do a bunch of other things. I've never been to Japan before, though, so I don't know what I'm doing. You've been there a couple of times. If I pay for your flight, will you show me around? Well, let me think about that one for a second. Yes. And even then, everything on this here was a semi-planned adventure. I'm really not awake, pardon me. So I had reserved flights, standby flights, both there and back. And there's nothing more nail-biting than arriving at the airport for a flight and having no confirmation that you're actually going to make that flight. You are on the expectation that other people will not make their flights. Even for the flight from Kansai back to Vancouver, which was a $75 flight, I want to point out, we saw first and business class load, and then when economy was loading, we got told 2 seats were available, get on. Too close, man. Wow. I'm going to stick back to how I did it before. But yes, the last time I was in Japan was in 2018, and I think I said during COVID, on Twitter actually, Tokyo 2023 or bust. To be honest, I wasn't expecting to be on this trip at all. We made it anyways. So while we were there, he was excited, he loved it. I mainly played guide for the most part and helped with a couple of the language barriers. But he still wanted to go to hard off. And you know what that means? I had to buy junk. He brought back 2 bags full of junk. I brought back some bags full of junk. Plus I brought a briefcase. In this box right here is all the stuff that I brought back. I didn't want to bring back 2 suitcases this time. So instead I was working somewhat compact. I still brought a bunch of stuff back. It still cost me several $100. But again, hard off never fails to deliver. And you know how many we went to? Usually I only go to 2 or 3 or 4 in the Tokyo metropolitan area. We went to 12 different hard-offs scattered everywhere between Tokyo and Osaka. Some of them taking bus rides damn near out into the middle of the countryside. Was it exciting? Yes. Was it adventurous? Yes. Is the Akiba hard-offs expensive? Yes. And that's where we went to other places. So, let's get started with all the cool stuff I brought back with me, because otherwise I didn't really take videos or take many photos, didn't do much else. I just simply looked at cool stuff, recommended it, and if they didn't want it, I bought it myself. Starting off before we open the box, though, I bought a briefcase. It's made out of aluminum. I'm pretty sure it's not like the proper, nice, official ones. It's a knockoff, but whatever. Metal is metal. Combination is known. It's really clean inside, and it even has the shoulder strap included with it as well. I paid $55 for this because I needed some way to transport our laptops on the trip home. Remember, carry-on baggage is like a bag and 1 personal item. This is my personal item. I should have brought back a DVHS player this time. In this bin is all sorts of other nonsense. Now, if you've never heard of Hard Off before, Hard Off is, well, it's like a secondhand store. It's not necessarily a consignment store. They buy your old stuff and then they'll resell it. Now, some of their prices are really good. Some of their prices are not great. They do also test some of their products as well. Their testing is limited, so on stuff they know even not working is worth money, it's money. I wanted an MSX2 Plus system, with the floppy drive, that was $600. That was, 66,000 yen. It was insane, not paying that kind of money. But then there's other stuff in this bin here, which I paid way less than I should have. And let's start off with this tiny little Casio television right here. This calls itself the TV 500. The antenna itself is like absolutely enormous compared to the unit itself, but it runs on, I believe, 4 AA batteries. Yes, 4 AA batteries. It has an audio-video input, so it does take line-level RCA and composite in. It's basically a cute little tiny video monitor, even though the analog TV tuner in is really no good anymore. Gimbal number one. So I saw a couple of these things scattered around, mostly at hard-offs. They were kind of expensive. This one here cost me 1,100 yen, so think of it like $12 Canadian. I'm going to be jumping between Canadian dollars and yen here many times. Just keep that in mind. And this is typically what you expect from hard-off. So you get the gimbal, which seems to be in relatively good condition, and you may also get like an accessories packet. This one here, just apparently no batteries, which makes sense. Does it take an 18650? No, it does not take an 18650. This takes... Where did I see the instructions on this one here? It takes these little tiny, like, half-size 18650s. I guess this didn't come with batteries, so as a result, they didn't test it. But given the fact that it's really clean, the power buttons all look really nice, I bet you this works. It just needs batteries on it. Oh, here we go. For 16340s or 18350s. Cool. All right. Fair enough. Easy to get those batteries. Here is a analog radio scanner that I picked up for 550 yen. Price tag still on the back of this thing. And police, maritime, police UHF, MCA base, MCA move, cartel, personal band 1, band 2. Like it's got presets, but they're all in the analog bands. So digital and encrypted radio, even if it did work, no, it doesn't work. This one here, it was cheap because, again, totally analog, so most of the bands that it's pointing at don't have anything anymore. It also has battery leakage inside of it, but there were no batteries in it, which is surprising. They probably went through it first. Ah, yes. Whoop, and I almost dropped it. This here was $130 Canadian. It is a Zoom H4n audio recorder. This here was in the junk section. It was defined as right channel did not work. And when I was in my hotel room, indeed, yeah, you put batteries into this thing, like left channel worked great, right channel was like... And I couldn't figure that one out there. It does have, on the underside, 1/4-inch jacks. It'll do XLRs. It's a nice portable version of the recorder that I'm using above for these videos here. It'll do 4 channels, 2 channels, handheld. It also has an external microphone jack on the back of it, which I find interesting since we already have these 2 ports here. And there was my solution. I simply plugged my headphones into the back of this thing, twiddled it around, and the right audio channel came back. So there is a switch in here, which when plugged into here turns off these. That contact inside the 3.5mm jack got dirty. I cleaned it, which was just as simple as putting in a headphone and then just swishing it around, and it works now. So really happy about that. It's great because I didn't really have a handheld audio recorder before, which wasn't like a little personal note taker, which works. It helps supplement just how awful the GoPro Hero 2's internal audio is, but it's still pretty tinny. This here, I'm sure, is absolutely fantastic. Ah, yes, you. So I have poked at a couple of these items already once I've landed here, simply because I knew exactly what their problems were. And this was one such example of a piece of equipment that I knew what the problem was. This is called the Weebill S. Who makes you again? Zhiyun, Z-H-I-Y-U-N. This is an enormous, very enormous gimbal. It was also in the junk section of Hard Off. Like Hard Off has their whole section there of like good stuff, and then there's a whole section that's partitioned away, which is older, untestable, or stuff which is just junk. There's a lot of really clapped out, worn out things that are there. But every so often you find stuff like this where it was there, it was listed as junk, and as a result, it wasn't like $400. This was 2,200 yen. And it came with a charger, a stand, a bigger stand, this adapter for it, and this charging cable here, which also has a micro to Type-C adapter, and it also came with a set of 18650s. What was wrong with this is that the power button on it, the power button right here had been pushed in. And even though I could push that with a pencil and I could hear it and like feel it click, it wasn't turning on. So something was wrong there. So when I got home here, the first thing I did was that I took out the screws, opened this up, and yes, it was clicking, but the switch had actually developed cold solder joints and pushed itself off of its pads. So I just repositioned the switch, soldered it down, and now it works. Now I'm going to demo it with you, which is difficult to do since my cameras are being used here. But I have my Canon EOS 55, which is another Japanese camera that I picked up for 2,160 yen back in 2015. So I will demo this to you by releasing you somehow. Come on. Come on. There we go. Is it locked? No, it isn't. There. So you get this base plate, and you're supposed to tighten that onto your camera. And if it's not obvious here, it really is designed for digital SLRs. So that gimbal there, like that thing's for tiny little GoPros, so it doesn't have a lot of oomph to it. This, on the other hand, is absolutely enormous. So I'm going to set you to there, lock you. I think I can just, I probably have this going on backwards. Center it, lock it, and now I will unlock each axis. There's one, there's another, and then there's one here. And as you can see, sure, free floating, it's not really all that great. And now I'm going to hit the power button here. Little display turns on. There you go. So I'll center it where I want it. There we go. Ah! What are you doing? Boom. And now I have a stabilized mount, a gyro per se, that is able to handle a fairly large camera. In this case here, it's a film camera, but a digital SLR, no problem. All right, let's move on to something else. I'm going to turn that off. There we go. And I'm just going to move this out of the way. Surprisingly, we will need that camera again in a moment. These were all over the place. I'm sure the game people are like, oh my god, you found yourself a pair of Famicom 3D glasses and the little tiny box that's supposed to go along with it. This was 5,000 yen for this here. A buddy of mine bought for 5,500 yen the same thing in the box. Hard off for you. Ah, yes. So, looks very, very similar to the Famicom glasses here. This, on the other hand, this was 1,100 yen. This was found in another one of the rural hard-offs. So, you have your glasses. These, by the way, who manufactured these in? These are the Vuzix video glasses. So, what you have over here is there's a VGA cable and there's a USB cable. Both seem to integrate with this little tiny box here, which has menu, return, left, right, up, plus, and minus. So you plug this into your computer. This is power, this is video, and there's a pair of LCD displays that are hiding inside of here, there and there, and you can actually go through various stereo modes. It's actually kind of cool. And as a result, like, this is basically a portable video display that you can wear as a pair of glasses. Unfortunately, you can't see through them. It's not like Apple's new VR headset or anything like that matter there. This was so cheap because something's wrong with this box here, and it seems to not want to synchronize with any video signal. The on-screen display comes up, but the on-screen display keeps on resetting. So I suspect there's an issue with this little box here. Apparently there's an HDMI version of this box. I'm going to keep an eye out for that. And maybe I can actually get this working. That'll be cool. This does support a number of different multicolor stereo modes as well. I bought another light meter. This one here, Psychonic, 2,200 yen. Can you really say no at that price? No, not really. Going to be your fairly typical selenium type light meter. So I'll play with this a little bit more. Is it going to be useful? No idea. Again, $22. Can't complain too much. This is a Panasonic digital scanner VEQ1067. I thought that this was one of those fancy barcode scanners for the laser barcode system. There's batteries in this. National Neo batteries. How old are you? Doesn't say, but they haven't actually leaked. Okay. Anyways, so I know for like some Laserdisc players, there's this thing called laser CD or laser barcode, and it comes with a barcode scanner. And you get a booklet which has like a bunch of encoded information. The idea is that you would just scan over it and then transmit it off to the receiver. I had a feeling that this was going to be that at 330 yen. I didn't really have much to lose. As it turns out, I don't believe this is actually compatible with any Laserdisc system that I have. Okay, well, it goes in the pile of remotes. This here is the Canon BP200 battery pack. So one of the frustrating things I have with this camera is that it uses, what was it, a 2CR5 battery. It's a special little lithium battery. It is not rechargeable. You can get rechargeables, but I don't have rechargeables for them. This thing keeps on wanting to misthread with me. But really, it's frustrating because I would use this camera and then I wouldn't use this camera. And because it's an auto-winding camera that also remembers the film location, that battery is kind of important. So I can't just pull the battery out when I'm not using it. This here, on the other hand, in theory, if I open it, should actually contain, yeah, it should take some AA batteries. And it's all angled and contoured and has contacts like it's designed to connect into this camera here and then just thread in, whatever. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit. This here, it's close, but it's not specifically for this camera. That's a little disappointing. All right, well, how much did this cost me? This cost me 100 yen, so whatever. Again, this is one of those things where it's cool. Unfortunately, it works for nothing I have, but at the end of the day, I didn't really lose much. This is just a piece of plastic. I could not, however, hesitate buying an MD data cartridge. I already have an MDH10. We have the Data ETA. This thing here cost me 1,100 yen, still shrink wrapped. You know what? I can't say no to that. Brand new MD data cartridge. This was an unexpected find. So for the Famicom, there were a whole bunch of neat options that were built in or were available as options as well. This here is called the TVNet unit. The idea is this sits on top of the Famicom. You have these pre-programmed cards. I think they contain a little bit of SRAM, as there is a battery slot on the back of this. Goes in there. There's phone jacks on the back because it's a modem. This here plugs into the front controller port of your Famicom, and this allows for all numbers of things, stock options, banking, management, stuff like that. I've seen similar things. Van City did something with the CD32 many, many years later, but I've never seen anything for the Famicom, and this was like, again, this was like $15, like 1,500 yen. I can't really complain. So let's put that into the pile for now. I'm sure someone's going to complain how disrespectful I'm being with all this junk here, but remember, most of it's junk. This, on the other hand, was a really neat piece of junk. This here is the Sony GV9 Video Walkman. This was completely unexpected. This one here I did have to spend $45 on. Woo. Idea here is color screen, which tilts up. It has a Video 8 tape deck right here. You can, and also has a built-in TV tuner in it as well. And you can do video in, you can do video out. There's even a camera that can plug into this thing, and you can select between line, camera, or TV, and you can record back to tape. This here came with its shoulder strap, needs a battery. Where is a battery? I'm pretty sure I had a battery here. Yes, I do have a battery. This one's not gonna last long, but you'd put that in there, you turn it on. Oh, okay, well that ejected, so that works. Where's the power switch? There it is. And then I find out, oh, the display's not particularly great. I don't even think you can see it in this one here, but the screen's in really rough condition. Can I change the brightness? No. Okay, no, it's dim. There's like, it almost looks like the screen has burn-in. It's not necessarily cracked per se. I'm not sure what's going on. This suffers from the usual capacitor issues of pretty much all electronics from this era. So if I put a tape into this thing, it won't play the tape, it'll actually put up a fight trying to eject the tape. The display is washed out. This thing needs a full service, but otherwise it's in excellent condition. So this is a candidate for being recapped. Coffee. You are the battery eliminator cable for you as the pile slowly settles down. This was another unexpected find. Buddy I was with was incredibly upset that I found this. 1,100 yen, IBM portable 4x speed CD-ROM drive. As you can see, we are just taking it out of the packaging now. You get the cable. You get the card that goes with it, and of course, you get the CD-ROM drive itself. How's it for batteries right now? Trying to be careful not to break this thing on camera, because I'm sure I'd never hear the end of it. Wow! There's a rechargeable battery pack in here. And it has leaked a little bit, but not bad. Cool. Okay, that's rebuildable. That's a candidate for being rebuilt. And the drive itself looks like a portable CD drive. So again, another candidate here. This could actually get resold. It's definitely the Japanese version for it. So this is the kind of device that I would use with my IBM PC-110. I've had that for 10 years. I've been fighting for a reason to actually make a YouTube video on it, now that LGR and a few other people have made videos on it. But neat. Now I have a peripheral to go along with my PC-110, and it cost me 1,100 yen, a fraction of what you would pay for this thing on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. Speaking of fraction of the cost, there was also this thing I picked up. This is an NEC PC Engine Duo R. This is the 5-player controller. And where is it? There we go. And here's a hue card for Bomberman 03 or Bomberman 93. And what you're looking at here was a price tag of 700 yen, 550 yen. And this here was only 3,300 yen. That's really cheap. You know how expensive this stuff is on eBay? How much it is to get it online? Again, that's one of the benefits of going to Japan, is that you're usually bypassing the middleman, the importers, and the resellers. You're going directly to the source. Now, you got to be careful about that. Like I mentioned before, the hard-off that's over in Akiba is usually pretty expensive, and Super Potato is kind of a tourist trap for very overpriced hardware that everybody wants. But once you start to go out into the more rural locations where the tourists never go, unless you're crazy like I am, you begin to find fantastic deals like this. This here might actually end up being a gift for a friend who was like, yeah, dude, you find anything that's PC Engine like that? I need one myself. Sure, there you go. Have a nice little gift. And speaking of gifts, there was also, for the amazing sum of 1,100 yen, a Super Nintendo copy of SimCity 2000. Is this factory sealed? Is this resealed? Do I really care at that price? It's the Japanese version for the Super Famicom, and it's in amazing condition, and it was super cheap. This is really fun. This looks cool. I think I already have a version of it that's not in the box, so this is kind of a shelf piece. And speaking of weird stuff still in the packaging, while I was there, 2 DVHS videotapes, brand new in the packaging, 550 yen each. So it's interesting. I went to Japan with someone telling me, if you find any WVHS tapes, buy them for me. I found 1 WVHS VCR. We found 2 DVHS VCRs. And I found not 2, but 6 DVHS cassette tapes at different hard-off locations. He wasn't interested in any of those. He just wanted to get some WVHS tapes. Well, I wasn't able to find them, so really, regrettably, I should have brought back a DVHS VCR myself, but instead I brought back some DVHS tapes because I think these are kind of more difficult to source than the actual VCRs themselves. So I'll hold on to these. Maybe I'll use them one day. There is also other gifts that are hiding in here. This is just a Famicom that I got, 550 yen. Heck, the game of Super Mario Bros. 3 on Famicom cost more than the actual unit. This is going to another friend here who said, like, if you can find a Famicom, could you get it for me? Sure. This one's $550. It obviously has problems, so they declare it as no good, but they're Famicoms, so they're cheap as dirt to get parts for. These were everywhere. Like 500 yen Famicoms just grew on trees at every hard off we went to. And then you went to Super Potato, and then they were like 2,500 yen, or like 100, or like 10,000 yen. But that's Super Potato for you, whatever. Finally, we are down to the last thing in here that I saw. It's actually one of the first things I saw. Both me and my buddy just kind of looked at each other and said, what the hell is this doing here? But at the price it was at, and I think it was $130 Canadian, so it was like 13,000 yen. I just asked, like, I would like to buy that, and certainly I did. This is the cable that goes along with it. On one side here, you have these two bird connectors. On the other side, ribbon cables, which are nicely weaved together, connect together into this one dip socket here. This one's actually got bent pins, but that's actually just a socket protector. But this goes to the box itself. This buddy, right here. This is the Minicom PC Ice Z80EX. This is an in-circuit emulator for the Zilog Z80 microprocessor. I was not expecting to find this in Japan. I was not expecting this to be found in a junk shop at all. Like, you go to Japan expecting to look for other stuff and find it, and then you find stuff like this, and you're just like, you know what? I can make space in my luggage for this. I can find not much information on it, mainly just reselling listings for this. It's actually funny, when I found this, I immediately went and Googled it, and I found other examples of this, plus this itself being listed online. Within a couple of days of me buying this, that item, surprisingly, was no longer available. But wait, there's more. There's also an EEPROM reader and burner on the back side of this thing as well. So it's an in-circuit emulator, plus it can also read and write EEPROMs. That's pretty hot as well. We do have a couple of configuration dip switches on the front here. But wait, there's more. We're not done here yet with this thing. This doesn't, that I can tell, require any software on the host side to work. I don't need to deal with DOS-V. I don't need to deal with Windows. That's right, it has a serial port on the back. You set your baud rate, DCE, DTE, turn it on, and it just prompts you. The entire toolkit is built into the box. It's a self-contained in-circuit emulator and debugging system. And it was 130 bucks. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I didn't spend much time in Japan, only about 5 or 6 days officially, like, rummaging around. The rest of it was just kind of resting. There were some terrible decisions made regarding which hotels we went to, but at the end of the day, we didn't spend a whole heck of a lot on it. And ultimately, if we kind of ignore the fact that it was like $150 two-way to get from Canada to Japan and back, this entire mound of stuff has paid for it the entire trip, even the hotels. This is why I always say, like, if you go to Japan just to buy stuff and resell and flip it, you're a terrible individual, because I've never really liked that. But if you want to get stuff from Japan that you've always wanted, if you go there directly, you, chances are, will find what you need and other things that were on your bucket list of, I'd like to buy this, but it's so small and weird that I can't even justify the cost of shipping to bring something like this home. And then you end up with stuff like this, which usually means, well, bring one piece of luggage which contains your clothes, your documents, and like stuff like that, and then just bring like a second piece of luggage inside the other one, and then just pack that full of junk up to whatever your required weight maximum is on your luggage, and then your carry-on. And then if you're absolutely insane, you can also have a second personal item like I did with that briefcase. So this is all the cool stuff that I got while I was in Japan in 2023. I tried to make this shorter than the 1 hour special we did about 5 years ago, if I recall. This may even be shorter than that, because I'm going to have to edit all of this down now. But I smell like butt. I am tired. I am exhausted. I've made this video and it's going to be done in the can. I'm going to try and upload this as soon as I can. It may take a week or more. I don't know. I'm spent. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. And until next time, have a good one.